What Could Be So Bad? Written by Lance_space_mommy. Dubbed by Melberry Stars. Summary. Midoriya is wasting away at Aldera when a villain decides to make their debut. Midoriya, not in the mood to deal with a villain, pulls a risky move. Trigger warnings. Mentions of wanting to unalive, villain attack with guns, school shooting, and bullying. Please, if this is a sensitive subject, click off. Your mental health is important. Alright, let's get started. Junior high could only be bearable for so long when you're quirkless. Being at home could only heal so many wounds when you're quirkless. No matter where you went or what you did, you could only get so far when you're quirkless. Still, it was a matter of time before even the most perfect facades fade away and cave in to the overwhelming emotion you drown yourself in. Midoriya had been sitting in his class. Bakugo was sitting far too close to him for comfort. It seemed that the teachers had a death wish every time they read out the assigned seats. Maybe it was all part of a plan because Midoriya was always the one getting yelled at. It wasn't like Midoriya had a choice on where he sat. They were called assigned seats for a reason. It was definitely intentional because every single teacher had watched Bakugo bully Midoriya. None of them ever stopped it either. Everyone talked around Midoriya so casually. He couldn't help but listen to conversations and pretend that he was a part of them. He'd never make eye contact or even give any sign he was eavesdropping. Midoriya would smile deep inside himself and pretend. Midoriya didn't get to pretend that morning as the teacher entered the room and silenced the class. Midoriya deflated a bit, hating the teachers more than any classmate who bullied him. The clock lazily ticked, distracting Midoriya from working on the paper laying on the desk before him. He twirled his pencil between his two fingers, rereading the question that was easy to answer, but hard for him to understand what it was asking. As if his concentration couldn't get any worse, a loud thumping echoed through the halls. Midoriya held back his groan of frustration and continued to read the question. The last thing Midoriya expected was to see the door burst open to reveal a villain with a gun. Midoriya's fear disappeared instantly when the villain didn't start shooting, the second he stepped in. Irritation plus rage was a pleasant duo that plagued Midoriya. While Midoriya was getting angry, everyone else froze, including the teacher. The villain grinned, looking around the room sadistically.
Tough crowd, who wants to be first?
Laughed the villain. Midoriya wore an innocent smile as he stared down the villain. Why are you doing this? The villain aimed his gun at Midoriya, his eyes lighting up.
Oh, finally for a second. I thought everyone was already dead.
I asked you a question. The villain stared at Midoriya for a moment before matching Midoriya's stare. Oh, what makes you think you have the right to ask me a question, stupid kid? Midoriya rose from his seat, slamming a hand on his desk.
Why are you doing this?
The villain stepped towards Midoriya, gun still aimed at his head.
You're a funny one, aren't you? Since you're so ballsy, I guess I'll give you an answer.
Taking another step to Midoriya, the class watched with wide eyes as they tracked every movement from the villain. Bakugo was ready to smack the daylights out of Midoriya for being an idiot, but the glint in Midoriya's eyes and the gun aimed right at him reminded him to shut up.
Why am I doing this? It's because society told me to be the villain. I decided to spice things up, and a privileged school seemed like a great start,
sang the villain, smiling murderously at Midoriya. Midoriya felt his smile fall, his face going blank as he pressed further. Society told you to? What exactly are you trying to gain by doing this?
Hey, watch it! If you're planning on killing me, it wouldn't be that hard for you to answer,
snapped Midoriya, cutting off the villain. The villain stared at Midoriya, pressing the gun to his forehead.
Oh, are you so blind that you can't realize that society has created these roles for people to fill? Are you that fucking stupid that you need me to spell it out for you? When you have a quirk people don't like, you're the villain.
How am I supposed to know when I don't have a quirk? Remarked Midoriya.
leaning into the gun. The villain stared at Midoriya, fixing his stance. Oh, what's this? You're quirkless? Go ahead and waste a bullet on me if you want. You shoot me and everyone surrounding you is going to attack. You'll be remembered as a pathetic excuse for a villain. Do you think my death will be mourned? Do you think anyone would talk about some villain whose only kill was a quirkless boy? So go on. What exactly do you have to prove? The villain smirked, getting close to Midoriya's face. Did you know that all my life I was told I couldn't be successful with a villain's quirk? I wanted to make people regret what they said to me. Your goal is shallow. The only thing on your mind was revenge. If you actually wanted their attention, to make them eat their words, you should have proven them wrong, not right, shouted Midoriya, practically spitting in his face. Are you fucking deaf, kid? I told you! You had a fucking chance to be successful. You had a quirk. You had opportunities to get a job. Actually get somewhere in life. Not me! Preying on a defenseless kids for revenge is pathetic. You made your quirk villainous, not society! Yelled Midoriya, right in the face of the villain, scaring everyone in the classroom. The villain held the gun there, hands trembling. Midoriya continued shouting at him again, fury keeping him going. If society told me what I'd be fucking dead. You had a shit reason to come here, so get the fuck out of here and find a better excuse! The villain slowly lowered his gun, looking at Midoriya before stepping back. Holy shit, you're one scary kid. Be scared. If I hear one more pathetic word come out of your mouth, I will take that gun and shove it so far up your ass, it will never see the light of day again. Don't ruin my chances of having a future because you fucked up yours! The villain scoffed, stepping forward again but not raising the gun. Midoriya maintained eye contact but used his peripheral vision to see where his teacher was. Midoriya wasn't sure if the villain was alone, but doubted it, considering how mentally weak he was. Midoriya knew the gun was still in the villain's hand, and Midoriya knew the villain was left-handed. All he'd have to do is reach his hand forward and grab it. The villain and Midoriya were at a standstill. Remaining calm, Midoriya tried his best to keep the villain distracted. Internally counting down, Midoriya prepared to attack. Once Midoriya reached 0, he sent his hands out and snatched the gun swiftly, aiming it at the villain. Midoriya flashed his usual innocent smile. You really shouldn't have let your guard down. Rookie mistake, teased Midoriya, a smug grin on his face. The villain smirked, trying to prove that Midoriya was bluffing. Oh, like you know how to use a gun. Heckler and Couch, P30L fitted with a custom compensator. Interesting choice considering you brought a handgun as your only weapon to shoot up a school. Observed Midoriya, mentioning it demeaningly as he cocked the gun. The villain raised his arms in surrender, to which Midoriya frowned. You really had to put up a fight with me. Unfortunately, my bully is far more intimidating when you threaten me with a tiny-ass gun. That is still somehow bigger than your dick. Kachan, care to do the honors? Bakugo took that as his cue to attack, launching himself out of the seat and knocking the villain with one swing. Midoriya was quick to set the gun on the ground and kick it across the classroom where the teacher could confiscate it. Letting out a sharp breath, Midoriya finally relaxed his face and composure to reveal an exhausted look. Bakugo was busy glaring at the villain as he stepped on the guy's back. Have any of you extras called the cops yet? Roared Bakugo angrily at the class of cowering students. As things were quickly picking back up again, Bakugo stared at the loser he'd bullied and couldn't help but frown. He was unsure of what even to say. Who would know what to say to a performance like that? The teacher, rather than thanking Midoriya or checking if he was okay, shunned him. What were you thinking? Do you want to die? Midoriya remained quiet for a moment, a blank look on his face. Kinda. The classroom went deadly quiet, everyone turning to Midoriya, who stood there. It seems as if Midoriya didn't see the weight of what he said, continuing to stare at the teacher. The teacher paled, staring right back at the student looking through him. The hell you say, Deku? Questions Bakugo, his question sharp. Nothing. It's not like anything I say or do matters, grumbled Midoriya, returning to his seat, where he continued to struggle reading the question. Yeah, I really do want to die.